Harrison Morgan was one of the most hated characters, which makes sense considering he literally tried to kill Dexter, and as much as he wants to be a good guy, he struggles with dark urges that he can't escape. Today, we are going to look at the moment Harrison's entire personality changed, but to answer this question, first we need to look at his backstory. Harrison hasn't had an easy life. Even before he was born, his mother, Rita, was under immense stress. But who wouldn't if they had to deal with Dexter? From conception, Harrison was surrounded by chaos, and it never stopped. First, he had to endure his mother being stressed out and arguing with a father that would soon leave him all alone. Then his mother was murdered. He was left in a pool of her blood as a baby, a woman he would never know. What followed was nothing short of tragic. Even though Dexter tried to take care of him, Harrison was destined to end up alone. Dexter was in love with a serial killer, Hannah McKay. And as a result, Harrison was left to move to Argentina with her. She died only 7 years into their stay there. Once she was gone, Harrison was left alone again. After Hannah's death, Harrison bounced around different foster homes, and once he aged out of the system, he was left on the streets where he developed a drug problem. Eventually kicked his drug habit and tracked down his father. Unfortunately for him, Dexter was not the father he expected. In fact, Dexter sent him away at first, unsure that he was able to be a good father or if Harrison would even accept him. He pretended that he didn't even know Harrison, handed him a few bucks, and told him to take the next bus out of town. However, for better or worse, Dexter got to Harrison before he was able to catch the bus, told him the truth, and invited him to stay with him.
Come home.
As he settled into the small town with his father, Harrison started to integrate himself pretty quickly. He enrolled in high school and tried his best to fit in, but he quickly became engrossed in plenty of drama. He was facing bullies, trying to start a relationship with Audrey Bishop, the daughter of the chief of police, and eventually revealed his deep emotional scars when he staged a serious incident with his friend and classmate Ethan. Harrison made it appear as if Ethan was a crazy person who was planning to shoot up the school. He claimed that Ethan wanted to enlist him to help and then attacked him with a knife when he refused.
He just came right at me and stabbed me.
During the altercation, Harrison cut Ethan so badly that the boy ended up in the hospital and suffered irreparable bodily harm. Harrison would then go on to break the arm of a competitor during a wrestling match for no apparent reason. His opponent was already subdued. He didn't have any reason beyond releasing his own anger to do something like that to an innocent kid, and he did it in front of several witnesses. The entire matter was very disturbing, and no one could understand why Harrison did it. After those episodes, his relationship with Dexter really began to evolve. Dexter knew that Harrison's description of the incident with Ethan couldn't be true. From the blood spatter alone, Dexter was able to deduce that it was actually his son that initiated the attack, and that Ethan couldn't have possibly been at fault. He then truly saw the signs that Harrison might be carrying his own dark passenger and tried to bond with him by introducing him to his code. Dexter explained to his young son the rules he used to justify killing people he believed deserved it. Initially, Harrison believed that his father's code was noble. He wanted to be like him and thought Dexter's actions were necessary, maybe even admirable. He said that Dexter was kind of like Batman, believing that the vigilante justice his father doled out was saving innocent people.
So you're kind of like Batman or something.
When they discovered that there was a serial killer amongst them who had been abducting, killing, and preserving young women, Harrison was more than willing to help Dexter take him out. Kurt Caldwell had been murdering young women for decades, and that was more than enough reason for Harrison to be okay with Dexter's desire to take him out. That was only underscored by the fact that Kurt tried to kill Harrison as well in retaliation for Dexter killing his son, Matt Caldwell. Matt was a killer in his own right, so Dexter was still operating within the code by taking him out, and Harrison knew that. But things would change after Dexter was arrested and placed in jail for his crimes. Soon, Harrison uncovered his father's true nature. In order to get out of jail and escape justice, Dexter killed Harrison's wrestling coach, Officer Logan, and he became completely disillusioned. Iron Lake became the backdrop for the final reckoning between him and his father. In the woods just outside town, as Dexter tried to escape with his son, Harrison confronted Dexter and ultimately tried to kill him, choosing to end the cycle of violence rather than continue it.
My anger isn't because I'm like you. My anger is because of you.
Afterward, he left Iron Lake behind, alone once again, but this time following a path of his own choosing. Before you watch any further, I'm happy to finally announce that I'm releasing the first limited drop of my t-shirts. At the start, there are only 100 available, so make sure you buy them while you can at dtmerch.store. Enjoy the video. He made what he believed to be the most moral choice, seeing that his father was an amoral killer who would do anything he wanted if it meant he would remain free. Harrison wasn't like Dexter, and he wasn't okay with the idea of killing people without the code his father told him about initially. So what changed? After attempting to kill his father, Harrison was a broken person. He wasn't even 18 yet, and already he had lost 2 mothers, lived on the streets, developed and overcame a drug habit, and then he shot the only parent he had left. So when Harrison reached New York City, he was dealing with a lot of trauma that no one else was aware of. He could barely think or focus, yet somehow he was able to find a job, make a few friends, and keep himself alive. And while that is all very impressive, one thing he couldn't do was stop himself from killing again. While working at the Empire Hotel, he was faced with a serious dilemma. A regular at the hotel, Ryan Foster, always sought Harrison out to handle random tasks for him. Anything from dry cleaning to finding him weed pens. Ryan asked Harrison for everything. One evening, Ryan was leaving the bar in the hotel lobby with a young woman named Shauna, who appeared so inebriated that she could barely stand on her own. Ryan then asked Harrison to help him get her up to his room.
Give me a hand. Okay.
Of course, Harrison obliged, and though Ryan lied and said that she was his wife, Harrison knew better. He saw a woman in distress, and he tried to stop himself from intervening, but he just couldn't. He ran back into the hotel room and begged Ryan to back off and let him take Shauna back to her room. When Ryan refused, shoved Harrison, and told him to back off, Harrison attacked him. The fight escalated from there, and Harrison got the better of Ryan. After getting the shit beaten out of him, Ryan relented and told Harrison that he could take Shauna back to her room, but there would be another one. Another woman that he would drug and rape. That's when Harrison lost it. He took the lid off the back of the toilet and bashed Ryan's face in with it, killing him. Keep in mind, Harrison already believed that he killed Dexter, and now he'd killed another person. But he didn't stop there. He took Shauna, who was still out of it due to the roofies in her system, back to her room and then went back to deal with the corpse of Ryan Foster. He cleaned the entire bathroom and wrapped Ryan's body in a shower curtain liner, brought the body down to the hotel's kitchen and cut it into pieces. He placed the body parts in trash bags and left them to be picked up by a garbage truck. In Harrison's defense, that entire process made him ill. Unlike Dexter, he was haunted by killing Ryan. He threw up as soon as the bags were picked up by the garbage man and began having hallucinations of Ryan shortly thereafter. Nothing about what he had done set right with him. Harrison had been trying to fight off his dark urges and be a better person than his father was, but he snapped and killed a man. And afterwards, he could barely live with himself. Everything about what he did made him sick. Harrison really wanted to be a good man, and in a way he was. Ryan Foster was a horrible person. He was a sexual predator who had gotten away with his crimes for years because of his affluence. When Harrison took him out, he didn't only save Shauna, but he saved every other woman that Ryan was going to victimize in the future. Still, Harrison couldn't condone his own actions. Killing a man was something he could not moralize, and giving into his urges that he had been trying to suppress for so long, disgusted him. When he had to pick up Ryan's watch from the jeweler after his death, the ticking nearly drove him insane. There was no escaping what he'd done. Ryan's murder was discovered and investigated by police, and eventually they realized that Harrison was probably involved. Though he spent weeks lying to the police to stay out of prison, Harrison was eventually willing to turn himself in. Dexter stopped him, of course, revealing that he was very much alive and still wanted to have a relationship with the son who tried to kill him. Initially, Harrison was defiant of his father's attempt to rekindle their relationship, but after Dexter offered to hold on to Ryan Foster's watch for him, he became a lot more open to Dexter being a part of his life. But Dexter finally won Harrison over by planting the watch in the home of Lady Vengeance, Mia LaPierre, before calling the police and getting her arrested.
There's a guy screaming next door. I think some chick's trying to murder him. I heard her call herself Lady Vengeance or some shit.
When they searched her apartment and found the watch, they assumed she was the one who killed Ryan, effectively clearing Harrison as a suspect. Of course, Detective Claudette Wallace didn't fully buy the idea that Mia killed Ryan, but she couldn't explain how she'd have his watch. Her department was more than happy to close the case, and she couldn't change that. In fact, if it weren't for the presence of Angel Batista, she probably would have let the case go, but she knew that Mia's fingerprints weren't on Ryan's watch, and we can assume Dexter made sure that Harrison's weren't either. So where could she take the case? No one would believe that Harrison was responsible based on Batista's convoluted theory. After all, Mia was a serial killer known for attacking sexual predators, and Harrison was a 17-year-old bellhop. Which one sounds more logical? The truth is that, at this point, Harrison is probably in the clear as far as the Ryan Foster homicide investigation is concerned, but you never know how that'll shake out. I'm sure he didn't want to go to prison, even though he may have thought he deserved it at one point, but watching his father kill with impunity, knowing that Dexter killed his former wrestling coach Logan and got away with it.
You don't know how much of a relief. Gosh, you're the best. Thank you for taking the high road.
I try.
And acknowledging that Ryan was a crazed serial rapist who was going to strike again was probably the point at which Harrison stopped feeling so guilty for what he'd done. He started thinking about his future, considering college, and even trying to date. His conscience appears to be intact, but in episode 7, we finally see Harrison smile in a genuine way. Having his father back in his life and getting the police off his back, at least for now, provided him with such relief that he couldn't help himself moving forward. Is he going to kill again? He very well might. So far, he's already participated in the abduction and murder of Kurt Caldwell, tried to kill his father, and murdered Ryan Foster. He fantasized about killing the landlord of his friend Elsa, and though he did manage to stop himself, the fact that he wanted to stab the man in the eye with a fork shows that his dark urges remain. It's probably only a matter of time until he gives in to them, and his code, assuming he has one, seems to be looser than Dexter's. Dexter only kills killers. And while he himself is a killer, and Kurt was as well, those aren't the only people Harrison would target. Ryan Foster wasn't a killer. Elsa's landlord wasn't either, and yet Harrison wanted them both gone. It makes one wonder who is next and what it will take to make Harrison snap again. It's clear that he's becoming more and more comfortable with killing, and though he seems to want to be a law-abiding citizen, he won't be able to avoid his desire to kill for much longer. If Harrison continues to rationalize his decision to kill and is further enabled by his murderous father, the dark path Batista told him he was going down will become the only one he sees. In New Blood, Harrison had such strong morality that he would kill his own dad for taking an innocent life. But now his rage has developed to such a degree that he can barely stop himself from wanting to attack people who simply upset him. When did his character change so extremely? Most likely after he realized that his serial killer father is not only seemingly immortal, but is able to kill with absolutely no legal consequences. And when a seemingly good man like Batista comes along and lies to him and manipulates him, how could Harrison's sense of justice not become warped? Who can he trust? How can he justify the horrible things he sees happening in the world and not act? His Aunt Deborah even broke down and killed a man while working for Elway just to get her lick back after he attacked her, and she was one of the most upstanding people in his family before she died. It's almost as if the closer a person is to Dexter, the more immorally they behave. But Dexter is a rare breed. His ability to kill whoever he wants and get away with it, his ability to beat death even in the most drastic scenario, isn't something everyone can do. Harrison may not be built for the life that Dexter leads. Hopefully, he figures out who he wants to be and how he wants to live before the choice is made for him. Because whether it's handcuffs or a casket, everything he knows could be gone in an instant. And I think we can all agree, after all he's been through, Harrison deserves acceptance, love, and peace for once in his life. Harrison's life has already been so hectic and interesting that his development is something more than worthy of analysis. If you liked this video, check out our breakdown of Leon Prater's entire backstory, and remember to like and subscribe.